Okay, hello everyone. So what we're going to look at today is Lab 2, Task 1. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be calculating in Microsoft Excel measures of central tendency, so the mean, standard deviation, minimum, and maximum um, for three different forces. And we're going to look at these for the right leg and the left leg. So we're going to be using some um, inbuilt Excel functions to perform some of these tasks. And we're also going to be doing some plotting of ground reaction force data as well. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is, and this just makes things a little bit easier to work with when analyzing data in Excel, is we're going to freeze this pane right here. So this just tells us what data we're dealing with. So what we'll do to accomplish that is we'll highlight row 13 and we'll come up to view. It's already selected, and we'll go to freeze panes, click on that, and then select this top option here, okay, in the pull down menu. Okay, so freeze panes, so select that, and you'll notice that when I scroll down now I can see what column I'm dealing with, so FX as I scroll down. Okay, alright. So our first task in task number 1 is to calculate measures of central tendency. So what we'll do is we'll actually scroll down all the way to the bottom, and we're going to type in mean, standard deviation, minimum, and maximum. Okay. And we're going to be using built-in functions within Microsoft Excel to complete this task. Okay, so what we're going to do is put in enter. Okay, and I'm going to type average, and I can see here this is the built-in function that I want to use, average right here. So all I have to do is click on it, double click on it. Okay, and now there's parenthesis here. And what I'm going to do is fill in the data I want to compute the average for. So I'm not going to click anything else on the screen. I'm just going to scroll all the way up to the top. Okay, I'm going to select the first data point here. Then what I'm going to do, instead of scrolling all the way down, I'm going to hit Control, Shift, and then down arrow. So Control, Shift, down arrow, and that's going to select all the data in that column. I'm gonna hit enter, and then there's my mean. Okay, so I'm gonna do that for standard deviation, minimum, and maximum as well. So we have some built-in functions to do these as well. So I'm gonna put equals std. There we go. Okay, so std EVA, that's standard deviation. So I'm gonna double click on that. Now I'm gonna have to put in my values. So I'm gonna scroll up to the top. First data point, Control Shift down. Oh, what happened there? That was kind of funky. There we go. Okay, so Control Shift down. That's all our data. Enter 24, plus or minus 24. So that's our standard deviation for forces in the medial lateral direction. For minimum, I'm going to put equals MIN. So MIN right there, double click on that. So we're going to do the same thing up to the top. Select that first data point, Control Shift down, enter. Okay, that's our minimum value for forces in the medial lateral direction for the right leg. And do the exact same thing for the maximum. Okay, we're going to scroll all the way up to the top. Select, Control Shift down, enter 20. Okay. Now it's really easy once we do that first column. Okay, all we have to do is highlight this data, okay, that has our built-in functions within it, and then we're just going to drag across And now we've computed the mean, standard deviation, minimum, and maximum for fx, fy, fz for the right and left leg. Okay. Now if we look down here, so the vertical ground reaction force for the vertical jump should be the highest component of force, and we can see that is certainly the case here. Okay, so that's our that's step number one. Okay, so we're just going to do that. Then we have to actually plot some data. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to scroll up to the top here. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. All right. So what I'm going to do to plot these data for the right and left leg, so I'm going to have to be plotting fx, fy, fz for the right and left leg for the vertical jump. So I'm going to have to go up here, go to Insert. I'm going to go to Scatter. I'm going to do Scatter with Smooth Lines. I'm going to click on that. So now I have this blank plot here. Okay, there's nothing in it. I have to put data within it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start with plotting FZ. So I'm going to right click on my empty plot and I'm going to go up to Select Data. Click on that. All right. So I have no data in this plot. So I'm going to have to go to Add. And I'm going to put in, so right FZ. So that's a right leg vertical ground reaction force. For the X series, okay, I'm just going to put my cursor within X values, and I'm going to select the first data point for the time column. So it's the time column in column A. I'm going to hit Control Shift down. That's all the data in the column. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the Y series value, so I'm just going to delete whatever's in there. Then I'm going to go to right leg FZ, Control Shift down. That's all the data for that. Okay. I'll hit OK. Let's just look at what we got. All right, so that is the vertical ground reaction force for vertical jump, and this is just vertical ground reaction forces produced for the right leg. Okay, now your task is to plot both the vertical ground or the ground reaction forces in each component for the right leg and the left leg. So what we have to do is add data from the left leg. So we're going to right click on the plot. We're going to go back up to Select Data, Add. Okay, and we're going to put in what we got here. Okay, so it's going to be left, FZ, X values, so hit that first time value, Control Shift down. Okay, delete that. And now we got to put in our Y data. So now it's the left leg, FC. Okay, Control Shift down. Hit OK. So now we're going to come all the way up. And now we can see we have a nice plot. Okay. Now, this doesn't really tell us a whole lot of information, okay? So I have to label my axes, and I have to label the title of the graph, and I have to put in a legend, because right now I don't know what blue is, what orange is. So I'm going to go to Add Chart Element, okay, with my plot selected, and I'm going to go to Chart Title. I'm going to put a title above the chart, and that title is going to be Vertical ground reaction force. All right. Now, I'm also going to want to put in axes labels. So I'm going to go to axes titles, vertical, and I'm going to put in FZ, and that is in newtons. So forces is newtons. All right. Now I also need to label my x-axis. So I'm going to go up here, primary horizontal, and I'm going to put in time in seconds. Cool. Now we can also enlarge these axes titles. So we're going to come up to home, and we can increase the size of them. Oh, I was just selecting one there. So we'll make them 20. Okay, it's just a little bit easier to see. All right. So one other thing you'll notice is you see that we got this negative 500 value right here. Okay. So we don't have any negative forces here. Any negative forces is very small. Everything's around 0. That's the lowest force value. So what we can do is double click on this axis, and over here under axis options we see that the minimum for the y is negative 500, and what we're just going to do is put a 0 there, hit enter, and now we can see that that graph is at 0 for the y, starts at 0 for the y, 0 for the x. Okay. Okay, so it looks like we only need one more thing here. Okay, and what we're gonna do is go to add chart element again, and we're gonna go to legend, and we're gonna place a legend on the right hand side. Okay, so the blue, so I'll need blue, that's the right vertical ground reaction force. The left is orange, and I can make this bigger as well. And there we go. So this is an example for the vertical ground reaction force. You will have to repeat this task for anterior, posterior, and medial lateral forces.